light and soundscapes, and towering towers of cardboard boxes set the scene for shared creative play. That's Forts, now through April 5th at Children's Theater Company. Tickets at childrenstheater.org.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Broadcasting live on AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. In the evenings on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. In the nighttime hours, 11:50 a.m. KKNW in Seattle. And on BAM, Blue Amp Media at blueamp.co on Substack. It is the Matt McNeil Show for your Wednesday. Good to have you with us today. Matt and Patrick here. Of course, thank you very much to everyone who's following us on the Substack page, Matt McNeil Show. Of course, on Blue Sky, Matt McNeil Show. Patrick, what else? Are we on? Is there a thing called Fiddler or anything like that? I mean, what else am I missing here?
Oh, I'm sure there's something called like TB or something that will be on in the near future.
But if you do have TB, talk to a doctor. They can have some prescriptions for you. You'll be taken care of there. 952-946-6205. Jeff Stein's back with us in-house today. Of course, our national and presidential guy. We will talk to him about a variety of different issues here. But I did want to actually give an update on a fairly serious story that happened out near the Lake Tahoe area. And it's just, unfortunately, a very sad update on this one. 9 skiers, the earlier report was 9 skiers remained missing after an avalanche in the mountain in the wilderness near Lake Tahoe with extreme weather conditions. Unfortunately, they did just have a press conference which said 8 of the 9 skiers have been found deceased, said Sheriff Moon. Rescuers are still looking for the remaining missing person. Of the 2 people that were injured out of the survivors, one was stabilized and released from the hospital. One is being treated in the hospital, both with non-life-threatening injuries. They said the guide company has been very cooperative. So apparently this was some sort of guide tour, and there was concern there. It does sound like this was there was some weather issues here, and there were some concerns about this, but due to the extreme weather conditions, it took several hours for rescue personnel to safely reach the skiers area. The area affected was basically it wasn't that big. It was about the size of a football field, but it was apparently a massive, quick avalanche that hit there. The search team dispatched to Frog Lake, northwest of Tahoe, after a 911 call reported an avalanche that had buried the individuals, and included ski rescue experts from Boreal Mountain Ski Resort in Tahoe, Donner's Alder Creek Adventure Center. Apparently, this is near Donner's Pass, of all things, where there's the story of the people that went west and they got trapped there, and yeah, it did not go very well there for them. So obviously very sad news there, but wanted to keep you up to date because obviously a tragedy, and they're still working on this once again, still trying to find that last skier that was known to be on the hill at that point. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205 is the phone number. I will say too that I do want to make sure I mention that the return of the protest rock is back, which is nice to see. The band U2 has now released. Of course, we had The Streets of Minneapolis from Springsteen, and very quickly put that out after the death of Alex Preddy. U2 now have released their first collection of new music since 2017, politically charged EP entitled Days of Ash, which focuses on a series of high-profile global deaths, including the Renee Good by ICE agents. Good, a mother of 3 children, was killed on January 7th while protesting against ICE activity in Minneapolis, and is the subject of the opening song, American Obituary. Renee Good, Born to Die Free, American mother of 3, 7th day January, a bullet for each child. As you can see, Bono sings on the song. The Renee, domestic terrorist, ? What you can't kill can't die. American will rise against the people of the lie. So yeah, a very poignant and very pointed protest song coming out from U2 about the ICE activities here. In an extensive interview with a fanzine accompanying the 6-song release, a continuation of the propaganda zines the band began sending in the 1980s, Bono characterized Good as a woman committed to nonviolence and civil disobedience. He said he was deeply troubled by her being dubbed a domestic terrorist by Kristi Noem, head of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. This is an attempt to assassinate meaning itself, which I agree wholeheartedly with. The meaning of words, the meaning of truth. Bono said, if you let people get away with that, you can kiss your democracy goodbye. And he called for an independent inquiry into Good's death, which I'm going to, and you know, before we get into Stein here, I actually do want to talk a little bit about that. I'll come back to that. But I want to make sure I mention to the people that are out there who are, protesting and stuff like this. I want you to be careful. I'm being here at the epicenter of all this. One of the things which has been I guess you could say is the a bit of worrying is that there's this attempt by like every individual group to have a protest, to have a day of economic consequences, to do something like this. I think some of this is fine, especially I got to admit all the bike rides for Alex Preddy have been great. I think that some of this stuff is good, but it's these more ambitious projects. I don't think you can have one every other day and have them be effective. I think we need to work a little bit more, coordinate a little bit more together, and kind of figure out, which, where we're going in regards to the message you want to send. I think that if we start getting too flooded with this stuff, it kind of loses a lot. And I just think that I'm getting a lot right now. It's like, come up this Thursday, come up this Friday, come up Friday afternoon, come up Friday evening. And I think it's great. We're giving a lot of options. And once again, this is not the smaller things. This is people that are trying to do larger marches and stuff. And I think, economic consequence stuff. I think you need to kind of coordinate a little bit more. You can't just, you're not going to have a really good result. And I don't know if it gets too diluted. So just a little bit of advice there, because I think we need to kind of keep the pressure on this. I mean, that story out of Texas of a 2-month-old sick. I mean, to a point where the child is literally dying, and then they finally call for medical attention. And of course, what's the narrative today? It was the mom's fault. The mom couldn't take the child to the hospital because she was in prison, your little gulag down in Texas. This is still a problem. We had that story yesterday of the ICE agents in Minneapolis out there feigning car problems because they knew the person they wanted to target, who was not a violent criminal, was just somebody there who had brown skin, was a decent individual who had mechanical skills and might come on out and try to help them. And so they took advantage of the niceness. And if there is anything that is the epitome of what the Republican Party is becoming, it's that statement right there. Taking advantage of the kindness of others to do evil things. That is the Republican Party. Taking advantage of the kindness of others to do evil things. I just, to a point, I almost kind of wonder, is ICE trying to get to a point where people are once again just terrified of coming out of their houses? Because that's not America. I get it. You right-wing stooges, you right-wing morons that like to sit out there and fantasize about being in control. I dream of the zombie apocalypse, because then and only then will all my mistakes be wiped clean, and I'll be the hero, and the girl that I wish would date me will leave her husband. Well, he'll be a zombie, and I'll save her, and then she'll have to love me. I mean, you guys are pathetic. You guys are pathetic. But it is... I just... You guys need to look in the freaking mirror and realize how horrible of people you're becoming. And it is really disturbing. 952-946-6205. It doesn't help, though, that we are inundated with the absolute worst administration in the history of this country by design. Once again, Trump specifically put these people in place so that they would be the most loyal little lapdogs that he could have. And he is clearly mentally and physically compromised. He is clearly mentally and physically compromised. But yet there is not a single member of his administration who is even contemplating removing him from office, because that's what this he got. He basically put zealots and incompetent morons in charge of things, and in return he asked for undying loyalty, so that Donald Trump could have a stroke and be quite literally, in a vegetative state in a bed, and they'll say he's the healthiest and most effective leader ever. His blinking eyes are more leadership than you'll ever get from a Democrat. I mean, that's who these people are. Case in point, Brainworm McGee. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. late last year. And by the way, talk about, if I was just talking to this with somebody, talk about a guy who's taken his family name and absolutely turned it into garbage. The Food and Drug Administration late last year quietly removed a page from its website warning people of dangerous products and therapies that baselessly purport to treat autism, such as drinking raw camel's milk, gelatin therapies, chlorine dioxide, and others. The webpage titled "Be Aware of Potentially Dangerous Products and Therapies That Claim to Treat Autism" warned people of the significant health risks some of these products that claim to cure or treat autism or autism symptoms carry. The FDA plays an important role in warning companies against making improper claims about their products intended to use for treatment or cure for autism or autism-related symptoms, an archived version of the webpage says, but the warnings do not exist on the FDA's website anymore. The Department of Health and Human Services, which the FDA falls under, told the BMJ in January that the page was retired due to a routine cleanup and dated content. A Health and Human Services spokesperson said the older articles were also removed. The page cautioned against people using Miracle Mineral Supplement, a water solution containing chlorine dioxide, which is a bleaching agent and is toxic to humans and can result in life-threatening situations. They're telling people, yeah, well, we rethought the drinking bleach thing. Okay. The page also carried warnings about raw camel's milk, also occasionally marketed as a treatment for autism, given it carries foodborne illnesses, or as RFK Jr. says, delicious. There's the Onion story that they put out that says that RFK Jr. was suggesting people keep their toddlers in cars with their windows open because that will sweat out toxins. He is basically telling people it's okay again to drink foodborne illnesses and bleach. It is the Matt McNeil Show.
Hey, Francois, have you made any New Year's resolutions?
Non.
Well, mine is to learn some French. Can you help me?
Bien sûr.
How do you say this? Can I buy you?
Est-ce que je peux t'acheter
Macaroons from Nicolette's.
des macarons de Nicolette?
Now, say it all at once.
Est-ce que je peux t'acheter des macarons de Nicolette?
Oh, absolutely. I'll have a box of raspberry rose, blueberry cheesecake, and chocolate.
Mais c'est quoi ça?
Thank you, Francois. You can order them online at nicoletsmacaroons.com or visit their store in Plymouth. Merci.
AM 950 would like to thank everyone who joined and donated during our winter membership drive. Your support shows that Minnesotans still value an independent progressive radio station that delivers facts, not spin. AM 950 is locally owned, based right here in the Twin Cities, and dedicated to uplifting small businesses and diverse communities. At a time when some voices are being pushed aside, AM 950 refuses to be silenced. Please help keep progressive radio on the air. Visit am950radio.com and donate today.
Are you tired of hearing how white European men discovered everything? Then 10,000 Things Theater's production of Men on Boats by Jacqueline Backhouse is for you. It features a cast of the people the first expedition to the Grand Canyon in 1869 left out, running February 19th through March 15th at 4 different locations, starting with Open Book in Minneapolis. Contact 10,000things.org. That's 10,000things.org.
Hi, I'm Mary T. Caring for others runs deep in my family. My grandmother, Rosa, was a nurse who cared for people in their homes more than a century ago. Inspired by her compassion, my mother, Margaret, and I founded the Mary T. family of companies nearly 50 years ago. Today, we continue that legacy across Minnesota, Wisconsin, Maryland, and Arizona, providing senior living, assisted living with memory care, home health, hospice care, rental housing, and support for people with disabilities. Each service is personal, creative, and focuses on the unique needs of those we serve. We also believe in joy and community, which is why we opened Crooner Supper Club in Fridley, a place to celebrate life with music, laughter, and connection. At Mary T., we're proud to be a Minnesota family company rooted in compassion, inclusion, and respect, and proud supporters of AM 950 and the values that this station represents. Visit MaryTinc.com to learn more.
Congratulations to Mary T, named one of the most admired CEOs of 2026 by the Minneapolis-St. Paul Business Journal.
It's no secret that medical care costs are soaring, with nursing home and skilled nursing care costs being some of the highest. You don't have to deplete your savings in order to receive long-term care. At Schroman Law, we work with families to develop and implement strategic planning for medical assistance for long-term care, for assisted living, nursing home care, or home-based care. Contact us today to schedule a free consultation at schromanlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. I want to get back to a statement from U2, from Bono from U2. And the statement is, this was an attempt, this is in regards to the attempt by Kristi Noem and Homeland Security to label Renee Good as some sort of violent domestic terrorist who, thank God we shot her in the face 3 times because, you know, she was going to nuke the city, which was not even true. And Bono talking about the song American Obituary, which is about Renee Good. He said, this is an attempt to assassinate meaning itself, the meaning of words, the meaning of truth. If you let people get away with that, you can kiss your democracy goodbye. He's right. And there's a reason why we're on the verge of kissing our democracy goodbye. And we are on the verge of kissing our democracy goodbye. There is no such thing as accountability anymore for people on the right. And it is somewhat terrifying when you start rolling around the number of things that are starting to come to light about how Republicans who always scream about the conservative message is being stifled are quite literally trying to shut down any sort of, charges, against conservatives, any kind of accountability for conservatives, any kind of promotion of the thing on the left. It is really disturbing. We are getting into an insanely one-sided system, and that one-sided system is not being addressed. Let me give you an example, because this is the two that I've talked about having a front row seat for what happened in Minnesota, which have stunned me. And we'll start with Nick Shirley, the Utah mama's boy. The Minnesota Republican Party brought him in here specifically to do a racist attack video against the Somali community, which they wanted to get to Trump, which in turn led to ICE and blood on the streets. And once again, the Minnesota Republican Party is responsible for blood on the streets of Minnesota and everything that's gone along with it. This is their responsibility. They did this. In that video, Nick Shirley is seen. He made this video. He released it himself. He is seen trying to force his way into daycares to photograph children without the consent of the daycare or of the parents. And I have been asking the question, how come nobody's charged this guy with child endangerment? And I've said, if I took a Somali man out of Minneapolis and took him to a rural daycare and he tried to do the same exact thing, he wouldn't be arrested. He would have been shot 15 times in the parking lot, and nobody would have even questioned it. They would have said he was a deranged man trying to get at the children. But Nick Shirley does it, and it's isn't this wonderful? Child endangerment. Charge the man with child endangerment. How about we go with Jake Lang, the neo-Nazi guy? We have him on tape in a U-Haul truck with what seems to be an ICE escort opening fire with a paintball gun on protesters and bear spraying them. And there have not been any charges against that. That's assault. That is outright assault. And this is assault. Why haven't you charged him with a crime? You have a handful of people interrupting a church service, and there is a threat from the government to throw these people into jail for 50 years as to send a tough message. They didn't stop the church service. The church service continued after a slight delay. They passed the collection plate. They were fine. Yet, this is worth 50 years. These other crimes here, I mean, there is this lopsided world that we are living in. I talked yesterday about Stephen Colbert. Colbert just tried to interview James Tallarico of Texas, the guy running for Senate down there, the representative. And he was told, no, you can't do that anymore. Does anybody think CBS would have stopped him from interviewing a conservative politician? Of course not. CBS would have gone along with that. They would have had no problem with that. And as a matter of fact, the FCC has no problem with right-wing talk stations across the country in rural America, which are overwhelmingly run by far-right people, specifically only interviewing Republicans and basically never giving a Democrat any airtime. But yet you put one Democrat on and all of a sudden it's an unfair advantage, which is just laughable at this point, considering how much of our media is geared towards extremist far-right mentality and talking points. It is freaking crazy. Yesterday, I also talked about Kristi Noem and Lewandowski having their little sex romps, which we all know they are. I mean, they are. And I want you to, and once again, I want to put out, if that was a Democratic administration and a cabinet level individual was having a pretty much an open affair, a married cabinet member official was having an open affair with one of their subordinates to a point where they are almost begging to be caught at this point. Do you think that nobody would have a problem with that? I know a lot of Democrats who would have a problem with it. I guarantee the Republicans would be demanding full investigations and the resignation of the president to go along with it. But yet they do it and nobody says anything. Which gets me to Trump. Trump, I mentioned earlier, he's not physically well. He's mentally unstable. He is physically unstable as well. He clearly has signs of major health problems. We ran Joe Biden out of the presidential election. The media did. Politicians did, because of one bad debate performance. And Donald Trump every day does 20 things worse than anything Joe Biden did in that debate performance. And nobody there. When is the last time you saw ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN do a story on the clear physical and mental incompetence of the Trump? But then again, there's even a larger issue. In England, when somebody is mentioned in the Epstein files, files about child rape and child trafficking, they're gone. Trump has more allegations of raping children in there and trafficking children. And no one in this country seems to really be saying the thing that out loud. There is a very good likely chance the president of the United States is a child rapist. And there is no accountability whatsoever. If we don't fix this, this is the end of democracy. Stein, when we come back.
Come on, you know it's true. Work is almost bearable when the Stephanie Miller Show is on. AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Celebrate Valentine's with the perfect musical. The Chameleon Theater Circle is proud to present I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change. Bright, sexy, witty, and fun, this show will appeal to anyone who has ever fallen into the deep end of love and come up gasping for air. Shows run 3 weekends starting February 13th at Inver Hills Community College. Just Google Chameleon Theater to see times and reserve tickets. I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change with the Chameleon Theater Circle. Get your tickets now.
Peace of mind shouldn't cost a fortune. We keep things simple at Schroman Law because we believe planning for your estate and end-of-life care shouldn't be stressful or expensive. Every client relationship starts with a free consultation so clients have the information they need before making important decisions. From there, we work closely with clients to ensure they are choosing the most efficient and cost-effective plans for their specific needs. Schedule a free consultation today at schromanlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
Hi, I'm Katrina, and season 2 of Boldly Challenging Ableism is about to come out. It will be on Sundays at 2 p.m. right here on AM 950. Boldly Challenging Ableism aims to answer the questions about ableism that you have but feel weird or embarrassed to ask. Boldly pairs nicely with your morning commute or your wind-down time before bed. It also makes for lovely workout listening. We hope to be your low-intensity introduction to the current state of disability justice. We don't expect any pre-reading or prep on the part of the listener. We're just happy you want to listen. It's on Sundays at 2 p.m. right here on AM 950.
Rebuilding Together Minnesota delivers critical home repairs and safety modifications to low-income Minnesotans because everyone deserves a safe place to live, not just those who can afford it. If you've been putting off repairs because the cost feels impossible, know this. Their services come at no cost to homeowners. They focus on safe and healthy home solutions that keep older adults independent, support families, and strengthen entire neighborhoods. And there's no catch. Apply during their application window, open January 1st through March 31st, 2026, to be considered for services. When one neighbor struggles, it impacts us all. Turn to Rebuilding Together Minnesota if you need support with critical repairs or safety modifications on your home. Apply now at rtmn.org and select Apply for help. Or call 651-776-4273. Rebuilding Together Minnesota, where neighbors help neighbors.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for some light snow throughout today with a high near 39. Tonight, about 1 to 2 inches of snow with a low around 30. And Thursday, cloudy with a high near 38. Experience a gourmet dining destination at Cafe Latte. Their ever-changing menu of award-winning salad sandwiches and soups ensures you'll always find something to love. Because ingredients matter, Cafe Latte never uses artificial flavors, colors, or preservatives. Visit them on Victoria and Grand. More at cafelatte.com.
KTNF AM 950, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Jeff. J-E-F-F, Jeff. J-E-F-F, Jeff. J-E-F-F, Jeff.
Jeff Stein's our national and presidential expert, noted author. You can find his books at your favorite book retailer. He can find, of course, the Iowa Business Report and the Iowa Politics Report over at KXEL in Cedar Falls, Waterloo, Iowa, where he is kind enough to join us today. Hello, Jeff.
Matthew, missed you last week while I was on the road in the Key City of Iowa. Do you remember what the Key City is?
Is it Iowa City?
No.
No.
Dubuque. Dubuque calls itself the Key City.
Dubuque has got a good name already. You know that. I always liked Dubuque. It was nice. It is a heck of a hill. You know, if you're going from the Iowa down to the Illinois side, it's a bit of a drop off.
Well, when they said, why don't you go do a live broadcast from Dubuque in February, I thought, what could possibly go wrong? Ice, snow. I mean, I'd hit the brakes in Iowa and wind up in Michigan, probably. I don't know. I mean, it was all good. So sorry I missed you last week.
No problem. Glad you're okay. I will. Gosh, I'm trying to figure out where I want to start. Okay, just really quick. I saw this. apparently there's people that the signs are pointing that we're about to go to war with Iran. That there's a 90% chance that we are going to actually go into war with Iran, which once again, this ain't going to be Venezuela. It is going to be a very different situation, and the consequences are going to be pretty great. I've said this before. I think that he will go to war with the country to avoid the Epstein files. And let's be honest, the Epstein files are not going away, and he's looking worse and worse every day in them. But does he understand that Iran is not going to be some sort of pushover country, and that you're going to have troops on the ground if you're going to have any chance at taking Iran?
Well, now you're doing a calculation on cost benefit as opposed to what'll work today to get something off the front page.
Well,
and the thing that really put this into focus for me the last couple of days, yes, I've heard the reports about how many more pieces of military hardware are in position, et cetera, et cetera. But the president himself has been rather quiet the last couple of days. I believe as we are speaking, he is hosting a Black History Month reception at the White House. Just leave that one alone. And he is appearing at that, but hasn't he been very quiet the last few days? And the last time he was quiet for a few days, Maduro was picked up. I'm just saying.
Well, his schedule, there have been people that have noticed his schedule now basically is 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. and then basically all throughout the night on Truth Social. And that's where he's at. And I think, once again, as I was talking about accountability, if a Democratic president had such a sparse schedule, and usually during his day he has 2 events, and most of the stuff is just these kind of generic, there's going to be a briefing, that sort of thing. And it's not like he's going to be out, greeting the Cub Scouts on the White House lawn, something very specific. And so there are people that are saying that it's there. I think this is a lot to do. He's not well physically. He's just not physically well. He's not mentally well. He just is not. That being said, I can see he's surrounded himself with enough idiots. Can we go back to El Paso, Texas, and Hegseth giving the Bureau, the Customs and Border agents a James Bond villain weapon and they decide to start shooting party balloons with it and end up shutting down the El Paso airport. I mean, you do have a cavalcade of stupid that is the Trump administration. I think that they're desperately trying to keep things off the front page. They're at the point Minneapolis didn't work, so I guess now it's going to be war.
Well, it's got to be something, and it's not going to be another surge of a major city. Answer this question for me, please.
Sure.
I mean, it's your show. You're supposed to be asking the questions, but
really.
Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Yes.
That's Hennepin County, correct?
Hennepin County, and then Ramsey County on the east side. St. Paul's and Ramsey, Hennepin County is Minneapolis. Yeah.
Okay. So when this administration talks about, and you have, I don't know, how many counties in Minnesota? Like 89?
89, something like that, yeah.
Okay. And they've been saying 86 of the 89 counties are going along with ICE detainers. This is what I was hearing from the administration as the reason why they ended the surge. Question I have is, among the 86, are there the most populous counties? In other words, if you tell me Minnesota's a tremendous state, you have multiple population areas, but the focus is right there in Hennepin and Ramsey counties. So if you tell me all the rest of the counties are playing with ICE, but the most populous county isn't, that seems important to me. So I'm wondering, from a fact pattern standpoint, are they spinning the data to be truthful, but yet obscuring reality?
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, okay. So here's what's going on. Immediately after Holman said this, Wall said, we haven't changed anything. And
Right.
what it is that what ICE wanted to do, and now once again, the Minnesota Sheriff's Association, which is once again not exactly the most liberal group you'll ever meet, they were the ones who were like, you better be very careful just handing someone over or holding someone past their release date, because We had a case in Nobles County where a sheriff was sued for doing that and lost, and it was like $2 million for violating someone's civil rights. And they said, this is, you can't do that. You basically, if they've got a warrant, fine. But what ICE didn't want to have to get was warrants. When they talk about all these bad people that they got, yeah, they got them because most of them were in prison, and they easily got warrants for them because they had criminal history, and a judge quickly signed off on them. And those people never were on the streets. They basically went from a prison to an ICE facility, and that was it. We could have the discussion on whether or not taking somebody who's supposed to be serving 12 years in prison and then shipping them out of the country without that 12 years of prison is really a justifiable punishment. I think we are letting these people off easy, but that's, the stupids are in charge, so fine. Now, that said, what ICE said is we'll get warrants. You don't have to worry, we'll get warrants. And then they said everyone's like, yeah, if you got a warrant, well, I'll comply. And that's how they're acting like that has changed things. Nothing changed. It just is ICE has stopped their demand for warrantless holding and warrantless handover, because the state of Minnesota doesn't mess around. And if you violate somebody's civil rights, they can sue the county, and the county will lose.
Well, and there's precedent for winning. Well, but you see why I asked the question, because again, if you tell me that you have this great number of counties, but you're missing where the target is, where you have been surging, well, it seems kind of fallacious. Now, when I worked as a criminal defense attorney in Iowa, I represented various individuals who had detainers. It wasn't called ICE then, but whatever it was called. And often when I was trying to negotiate a plea deal, because the individual didn't want to go to trial, there was one county in particular, because I would say, all right, if they concede that they are illegal, if they admit to this, that they are in the country without benefit of the paperwork, will you just allow immigration to take them? And the answer I got from one county was, oh, absolutely, after they serve the 5-year prison sentence. So in other words, the policy was, because there was nothing to keep that person who had made it to the heart of Iowa on their own. There's nothing to stop them from doing it again. And so it was, well, that's fine. We'll make a note in the file, but if they're convicted and sentenced, they're doing the time. It's a pretty simple concept.
I think that if I can point out something here,
Please.
You are down in Iowa. You are on a station group there that does have some conservative talkers. I'm on a progressive radio station here. And just listen to us talk is that we don't know what the truth is anymore. And the truth is that this White House, this administration flood the zone with so much disinformation. I mean, let's call it what it is. They lie constantly because they keep people on their heels, because we don't know what is truth and what is not truth. Which I wanted to ask you about something, particularly with the Colbert thing, because I found it very interesting that Carr, the FCC chair, as he's going after and saying you can't have these Democratic interviews on your network, even though there's never been a case where this has been denied in the past because it's unfair. He quietly said out loud that the right-wing talk radio stations in rural America, which have been overwhelmingly favoring right-wing politicians and some of them will not even let a Democrat on their air, he is not going to go and enforce these rules with them. And I think that what we're seeing is there is this agenda where it is to shut down reality and only have a conservative mindset and mentality proclaimed. And that, at the end of the day, that's that.
This is not the first time that late night talk shows have come under scrutiny for, all right, are they really entertainment or are they not? I can go back to Al Gore being on with David Letterman during the 2000 campaign. Well, did that trigger equal time? There were a lot of people who were, pounding the table about that. My position on that kind of stuff is, if I'm running a show and you want to have, you want to come on, great. I don't need equal time. I mean, if you've got, Matt McNeil is running for public office and I have Matt McNeil's opponent on and Matt McNeil says, well, I want to come on. Heck yeah. I mean, on my program, I've got Democrats, I've got Republicans, I've got libertarians, independents, because that's part of what you're supposed to do. Now, the trick of what happened, and this is where CBS stepped in it, quite honestly, is there is a Democratic primary.
Yeah,
So-
that's the thing is, and just if I can say this, because I know where Jeff is going with this.
Yeah.
The race that's going on is not the general election; it's a primary. So if they brought in, one guy from this Texas Senate race, they don't have to bring any other Republicans in because he's only talking to the Democratic primary people, which would mean the other candidates.
Mhm.
This whole thing is not about stopping a right-wing person from getting on the air, because then the only responsibility Colbert would have if late night talk show hosts were held to that standard, which they haven't been, is that he needs to get the other Democratic primary candidates on, not a Republican primary candidate on.
And what's fascinating to me about this is I don't know if Representative Jasmine Crockett has ever been on the Colbert program or not.
He actually said this last night. He said, I've had her on the air twice with me before.
And so, if you're looking at what the race is, it's a three-way race for Democrats in Texas. If in fact you're Colbert and you want to help the Democrats, wouldn't you put them on one after another so that the voters in Texas and folks who would give money across the country would see, because there's a chance to flip the seat, because it's a train wreck on the Republican primary.
Well, what I'll say is this: is when it's a New York-based show, so it's you got to work with people's schedules and when they can get up there and not. And so that's the thing. I don't get the impression that he was saying Jasmine Crockett couldn't come on the air. I think, like he said, it's like I'd have her on tomorrow. But this is more about, I think, whether or not, and like you said, this CBS stepped in this proactively. The Carr hadn't actually put this down. He was implying he would. But I don't think Carr wants to do this, because all you do is then open up the immediate lawsuit from a Democratic candidate out in Fort Dodge, and I'm just picking a random city in Iowa, Fort Dodge, which might have the most far-right radio ownership group there, who has basically told Democrats, you can't get on the air. Well, Carr now is basically saying equal time rules apply, and so all of a sudden they don't want to get sued. I don't think Carr is going to go down that path, because he knows that's going to be, burning his own toast, for lack of a way of saying it. But it's just the idea of, can you threaten the news agencies into doing it? And CBS jumped when they told them to jump.
Two things. Mr. Carr speaks a lot. Enough said. Second thing is, CBS is owned by Paramount. Paramount previously was worried about a merger. What's Paramount trying to do now, Matt? They're trying to buy Warner Brothers Discovery in a deal that may have merger implications and antitrust again at the federal government. Enough said.
Well, it is the disinformation and the silencing of what's going on. Like I said, I mean, we don't know what's really going to happen until it happens. And the question is, if things don't, going back to the first thing I said, if things go bad in this attack in Iran, would we even hear about it? I don't know if we would. And that's just that we can't trust anything at this point. Jeff Stein joining us. We'll come on back, talk Epstein Files. It's the Matt McNeil Show.
Get ready to zoom into a world full of color, música, and alegría at Children's Theater Company. Go Da Go, Ve Pero Ve is a bilingual musical bursting with playful, high-speed energy as dogs drive, swim, and race to the big dog party. This joyful espectáculo blends English y Espanol with expressive, physical storytelling. Go Da Go is sure to have you laughing, moving, and howling with delight. On stage January 20th through February 22nd. Tickets at childrenstheater.org.
Crooners is a classic supper club with a wide range of entertainment. Make your reservations for a parade of international, national, and local artists in the main stage showroom, the intimate Dunsmore Jazz Room, or outdoors at the seasonal Belvedere Under the Stars space. Or enjoy Maggie's Piano Lounge. Enjoy 4-star food and drinks with first-class supper club service. What are you waiting for? Go to croonersmn.com for more information and schedule. That's croonersmn.com.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. February is the month for love, so when was the last time you gave your carpet the love and attention it deserves? Maybe you've been procrastinating on the holiday post-mortem cleanup at your house. Are you worried if you got down on your hands and knees what you might see or smell? Not only is your carpet one of the biggest investments in your home, but it's also the largest air filter in your home. And what's worse, you're going to be stuck inside breathing this nasty stuff for months. And you're just in time for Zero Res's post-Valentine's Day flash sale. Get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for $109 plus a 4th room free. But you have to book by February 20th. Call my friends at Zero Res right now, 9520-RES, or go online to ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. A 4.9 rating on Google reviews and over 21,000 satisfied customers can't be wrong. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
Hi, this is Frank Brown of Minuteman Press Uptown with a question for our listeners. How important are business values to you? When you need high-quality digital print, it matters who you work with. You see, Minuteman Uptown is unique. We're one of the only union print shops in Minnesota providing our team with living wages and benefits. We believe in second chances for justice-impacted individuals who want to contribute to the community, and we are active in local issues. We've been in the streets standing up for racial, social, and economic justice. At Minuteman Uptown, our mission is to connect all communities through technology-driven print solutions. An example of that mission is when I moved Minuteman Uptown to North Minneapolis. We're invested in this local community, and we help small businesses and local organizations throughout the Twin Cities reach their audiences. Reach out to Minuteman Uptown and partner with a printer that shares your values. Call us today at 612-870-0777 or visit us at mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com.
Broadcasting in the evenings in Chicago, WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. In Seattle, 1150 AM KKNW in the nighttime hours. On BAM, Blue Amp Media, blueamp.co on Substack. That's blueamp.co on Substack. And, of course, on AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. It is the Matt McNeil Show. Jeff Stein joining us for his usual weekly visit. Jeff, this is what's becoming interesting is as Trump and the administration try to keep screaming, there is nothing else to see here. You had that insane moment with Pam Bondi in Congress, screaming as Epstein survivors are behind her screaming about the stock market and no one should be concerned about this. There does seem to be the beginning of this idea that maybe these people are not untouchable. I mean, there's obviously in England, they're cleaning house. Anyone gets mentioned in these, they're gone. You're starting to see the business culture and the business world start to, in this country, pull these people aside. You have this story out of Texas where the guy bought Epstein's place in New Mexico under a secret deal, and now that is blowing up in their face because now there's tons of connections there to the Epstein sex trafficking ring, and people are wanting full investigations into that property where there are allegations there might actually be dead people buried there on the property.
Mm-hmm.
And Trump, as much as he wants to scream, we're now starting to learn that he's not mentioned there a few hundred times or a few thousand times. The allegation is that he's mentioned in there a million times. Now, is he in there a million times? Probably not that many, but he's probably well in there more than any other person. And the allegations against him, which are coming from different people who were not coordinating with each other at different times, in different areas, in different states, in different cases, are pretty freaking horrible and pretty atrocious. This is closing in on him, and I know he's created this entire world where he's never held accountable for this. But I just see this starting to compress and compress and compress tighter, and eventually at some point, this inner circle is going to have to break, because when this does start going downhill and administration members are being arrested and arraigned for covering up a child pedophile ring, that I think that's when you're going to start seeing people kind of move away from this, because this is what we're looking at. We're looking at a ring of people, child sex predators, that does seem to have encompassed a large part of the leadership of corporate worlds and political worlds in this country and beyond.
I still have a hard time trusting anything the government is going to release on this topic. Now, I'm not disputing.
neither did the Democrats. And so they went and looked at the actual real documents, and they immediately came out and said, this is much worse than people want to admit.
Well, and this is the thing. It's like so many people have had their hands on it. Bondi was a prosecutor in Florida when they had the sweet deal to begin with. It's like the whole thing is just such a mess. Now, to your point, when business people start, elbowing people aside, no matter of the level of their role, it starts getting some more critical mass. But while some of these private business entities are pushing people out just because they don't want any of the stink to attach, you have not seen that at the White House or the executive branch of government as of yet. Now, is that because now I'm going to use a name and an example, and it's probably wrong, but as I recall, Howard Lutnick and his family had lunch there at some point, and he had denied that at whatever. Okay, so let's just say Lutnick.
Well, okay. One thing I want to clarify. He
Yeah.
says it was his family having lunch at the Epstein Island. He said he hadn't gone there, regardless of whether it was family or not. He now admits, and his excuse is, the whole family went there for the fun experience.
So I didn't think you meant that one counted.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let's just go with let's take Secretary Lutnick's or whatever his job is story on face value. If the president were to force him out, does he then roll? So there's something.
You just did it. You just perfectly said, why haven't they thrown him out? Well, because of all of a sudden being in the Epstein files and going out to Epstein Island is a bad thing. How long before everyone starts pointing at Trump? Because let's be honest, if you're trying to save your own reputation, have I got a big fish for you?
Sure. Well, and it has nothing to do with prosecution. Okay. If you're Lutnick and they start to squeeze you, you can go, I got stuff. And I'll just take you down with me, even though what are you taking down? But is that why this is happening the way that it's happening? Is that why Pam Bondi got to be Attorney General?
Do you know that there are 3 guys that so far have been mentioned in this that were part of the trafficking element of this, that basically were the people setting up the children to be raped by various people that had been arrested and put in prison, and all 3 of them died in prison. All 3 of them died in prison.
Well, it's a terrible coincidence.
It's like a 9-story apartment in Moscow at this point. Okay, it's.
Good. Now Navalny comes into it. Okay.
Well, no, but I will say this: there definitely does seem to be. I think you can figure out exactly, considering their Epstein did have connections to Putin, how a lot of this is developing. I think one of the things which is dark that I think we have to prepare ourselves for is that, there's a lot of names that are very recognizable that might be on both sides of the political aisle and corporate leaders that we need to be ready to say, no, I don't care how rich you are or how powerful you are. Raping children is not a mulligan issue. You have to go to jail for this.
Well, and even if there is not a prosecuting authority that is able to bring a charge either because of jurisdiction, time, whatever, even if, maybe they shouldn't have responsible positions in society.
Exactly. It's like, maybe you shouldn't be it's strip of his title and send out to a farm.
The people who keep saying, well, we need to jail them, we need to prosecute them. How about shunning? Let's start with public shunning and work toward it.
Do you think that his most loyal allies will ever believe, even if he himself said, yep, I raped them, that they will even believe that?
No,
I don't either.
I don't think so.
I agree with you. I think there are some people that they're so sold on this that if they had to admit the truth, that it would break them, so they just will never do it. Jeff, I will make sure we post the Iowa Politics Report a little bit later on. Check out the Iowa Business Report he does down there. That's actually pretty good as well. We will talk to you next week. Thank you very much, Jeff. Chicago, Seattle, talk to you tomorrow. Minneapolis, St. Paul, and BAM, talk to you next hour.
Hey, everyone, it's Ellie Krug, the host of The Legal Trends Woman that airs on Saturdays at 3 o'clock. As some of you know, when I'm not doing radio, I'm writing things. A decade ago, I published my first book, Getting to Ellen, a memoir about love, honesty, and gender change. More recently, my newest book, Being Ellen, A Second Chance at Life, was released. I'm thrilled about that. So much so that I partnered with one of AM 950's friends and advertisers, Big Hill Books in Minneapolis, for an author event where you can come and meet me and hopefully buy a book or two. The author event at Big Hill Books will take place on Sunday, March 1st from 2 to 3 in the afternoon. Big Hill Books is a lovely place with all things literary. Please come. I'd love to personally inscribe a book for you and to chat about what it means to live authentically, true to oneself. Again, please join me on Sunday, March 1st at Big Hill Books, which is located at 405 Penn Avenue South in Minneapolis. I look forward to seeing you.
Hey, Minnesota, it's Brad Friedman, host of the Bradcast. You're listening to AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. The latest round of U.S. brokered talks between Russia and Ukraine have ended, and Sagar Magani reports there's no sign of a breakthrough.
There were already low expectations for a significant progress in Geneva. Putin advisor Vladimir Medinsky says the talks were difficult but businesslike. Ukrainian Defense Minister Rustem Umerov called them intensive.
There's progress, but no details can be disclosed at this stage.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says political differences remain deep, including land Russia wants to keep in Ukraine. Both sides say there will be more talks. Sagar Magani, Washington.
Ukraine's Air Force says Russia launched one ballistic missile and 126 long-range drones at it overnight. Officials report a woman was killed while a 6-year-old and an 18-month-old were injured in Zaporizhia. Meantime, a delegation of U.S. senators returning from a trip to Ukraine looking to spur action in Congress on new sanctions on Russia. The Transportation Department's ordering the closure of more than 550 commercial driving schools after investigators found unqualified instructors, inadequate testing, and other safety issues. And Ed Donahue has the latest on that deadly avalanche in California.
6 skiers were rescued after sheltering in place for hours as crews battled blizzard conditions. Sheriff Shannon Moon says 9 people were missing.
8 of the 9 additional skiers have been located deceased. We are still looking for one.
The area near Donner's Summit is one of the snowiest places in the Western Hemisphere, and until just a few years ago was closed to the public. An avalanche forecaster says the skiers were on the last day of a backcountry skiing trip and had spent 2 nights in huts. I'm Ed Donahue.
Wall Street's biggest stock, Nvidia, led the market higher today. The S&P rose 0.6%, the Nasdaq 0.8%, while the Dow added 129 points, about 0.3%. This is AP News.
Did you know about 1 in 3 people with plaque psoriasis may also develop psoriatic arthritis, which causes joint pain, stiffness, and swelling? Does this sound like you? Listen to what it sounds like to be a million miles away. Tremfya guselkumab, taken by injection, is a prescription medicine for adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who may benefit from taking injections or pills or phototherapy, and for adults with active psoriatic arthritis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being a million miles away. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya. Visit Tremfya.com or call 1-800-526-7736.
Celebrate Valentine's with the perfect musical. The Chameleon Theater Circle is proud to present I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change. Bright, sexy, witty, and fun, this show will appeal to anyone who has ever fallen into the deep end of love and come up gasping for air. Shows run 3 weekends starting February 13th at Inver Hills Community College. Just Google Chameleon Theater to see times and reserve tickets. I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change with the Chameleon Theater Circle. Get your tickets now.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. February is the month for love, so when was the last time you gave your carpet the love and attention it deserves? Maybe you've been procrastinating on the holiday post-mortem cleanup at your house. Are you worried if you got down on your hands and knees what you might see or smell? Not only is your carpet one of the biggest investments in your home, but it's also the largest air filter in your home. And what's worse, you're going to be stuck inside breathing this nasty stuff for months. And you're just in time for Zero Res's post-Valentine's Day flash sale. Get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for $109 plus a 4th room free. But you have to book by February 20th. Call my friends at Zero Res right now, 9520-RES, or go online to ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. A 4.9 rating on Google reviews and over 21,000 satisfied customers can't be wrong. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for some light snow throughout today with a high near 39. Tonight, about 1 to 2 inches of snow with a low around 30. And Thursday, cloudy with a high near 38. Step into Fort's, a children's theater company. It's a fort-building wonderland where theatrical elements, evolving light and soundscapes, and towering towers of cardboard boxes set the scene for shared creative play. That's Fort's, now through April 5th at Children's Theater Company. Tickets at childrenstheater.org.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Hour number 2 of the show here on your Wednesday. Good to have you with us today. Matt and Patrick here. Guest free this hour, 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. We're keeping an eye on the men's hockey is playing right now. The United States is leading Sweden with about 15 minutes left to go in the third period, 1-0. Canada, did you see the Czech Republic almost knocked out Canada? They went to overtime, and they barely survived that.
Yeah, it was actually a very good afternoon of hockey. I unfortunately didn't get to see any of it, but Switzerland nearly took down Finland, it looked like, as well. So a pretty good afternoon of quarterfinal hockey.
Sidney Crosby, he get hurt? Did you hear about this? He might have gotten hurt, which, that's a pretty big blow to the Canadians if all of a sudden they've lost Crosby. I don't know. He was getting checked for something. That's what that was the story I saw. He's going to get examined. Whether or not he's going to play, I don't know. I mean, these guys want to play for Canada, so I'm going to guess if he's any way possible he can play, he's going to. I will mention as well, it has been a good day for the United States in regards to the medals. We actually picked up quite a few today. We got a gold. Michaela Schifrin won the alpine skiing slalom women's. We got snowboarding men's slopestyle. We got the bronze there for Jake Cantor. The U.S. got silver in the cross country skiing men's team sprint free. And Mac Forehand he got big men's free ski, big air. He got silver there. And I believe as well, we got the men's team pursuit in speed skating. We got a silver medal there too. So a pretty good day. We're up to how many we got? 24. We're still in third place. The Italians have 26. I don't know if we're going to catch the Norwegians. And Norway just dominates certain sports. I mean, the cross country, the biathlon, the ski jumping, they're kind of the dominant force. I mean, and we talked about the Netherlands with speed skating is very good. The Germans are really good with like bobsled and skeleton and luge. They're really good at those. So they're just they're there. I would love to see. I can't stand Trump. He's an absolute horrible human being, just a horrible human being. But I'm still proud of America, and I want America to be what it can be, not what these tyrants want to turn it into. I do hope that they win, but I mean, I'm not going to get too upset if they don't. I don't think there's any way they could get past Norway now. I mean, they're, I think, 9 medals behind. And so I don't think they can get past Norway as far as the medal count. They might get past Italy, the host nation, but I mean, I guarantee the Italians don't want that to happen. But it depends on how the United States, I think a lot of it depends on how the United States does in the U.S. hockey for the men's and women's, as well as also the curling. We'll have to see how that goes. So 952, men aren't doing that well in the curling. I don't know if you know that women are doing pretty good. Women, I think, are definitely going to make the medal round, but the men, I don't think they are, which I'm not too happy about that, man. In a place where curling is something which is kind of a regular sport that gets played around Minnesota, especially up north. This is like America losing bowling. when in the world did the Kenyans get so good at bowling? When did that happen? It'd be like that. I mean, it's so. Actually, I think the teams that are actually pretty good at the curling are the ones that have generally been pretty good there. So 952-946-6205. A little bit of a local story here. So people on BAM, just you'll have to suck it up for a second here and just deal with this. There's a blizzard right now in northern Minnesota. Speaking of northern Minnesota, it's really bad up there. And as a matter of fact, thousands are still without power on Minnesota's north shore of Lake Superior as a blizzard sweeps across the region. They're saying over 20 inches of snow up there. Heavy snowfall, all problems there. US 61, which runs the North Shore, and Bob Dylan sang a song about, that is shut down right now on the North Shore. So anything from Duluth up to Canada, it's a mess up that way. And we're kind of getting snowed on like crazy here because this is wraparound. It's like a hurricane right now in Minnesota. So yeah, we're getting snow in the Twin Cities and stuff. So watch out for ice vehicles. They don't know how to drive in this crap for anything. So just keep that in mind. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Do you know how MAGA and the Republicans like so much to try to vilify the intolerance of the left? You know how they do that? Once again, we are exposed to exactly what you would expect this to be, the intolerance of the right. Back when George Floyd was murdered by 4 police officers in the streets, the right was so infuriated about, how dare you get upset about a black man getting murdered? And that was basically their narrative. How dare the Republicans were basically saying it's just a black guy, and they did not care. And today, to watch the mental gymnastics that conservatives do to try to convince themselves that a 9.5-minute video of us watching them literally choke him out in the street, Chicago on 38th Street in Minneapolis, is actually, no, he was having all sorts of other health problems and stuff. You can't stop racism for creating delusional narratives, that will never break. And so anytime I hear anyone say, oh yeah, that 9.5-minute long video of 4 officers murdering him in the streets, that wasn't real. What was real was he had a heart medication. No, he was choked out in the streets with a knee to the back of the neck that shut down his windpipe, and he died. There's a reason why you don't do that. Afterwards, there is a fairly recognizable mural of George Floyd that is over there in that area. And, almost immediately, some Republican kid didn't like it. And so he said he was drunk. I remember that. He said he was drunk, and he came running by and threw paint on it and tried to run away and got caught. And I was doing a prank. I wasn't being intolerant at all. Of course he was being intolerant. Of course he was being intolerant. This one makes me furious, and I want a name. I want the name. Someone doused Renee Good's South Minneapolis Memorial in a nearby pile of wood with gasoline and then started it on fire about 9 o'clock last night. A fence was charged and several items in the memorial were damaged, but the memorial site at 34th and Portland Avenue wasn't burned down. No one was injured, Minneapolis police said. Photojournalist Ryan Vizians, 43, smelt gasoline from inside his van, which was parked near the memorial site. I looked out my windshield and I see orange, he said. My eyes lit up. Vizians jumped out of the van after seeing the flames. Neighbors who live in the apartment building in front of the Goods Memorial used 2 fire extinguishers to put the blaze out. Community members had covered the memorial site with a tarp earlier to protect it from the rain. We've been hyper vigilant in our neighborhood, and obviously everyone's keeping an eye out all the time, said Ren, a neighbor named Ren, 23, who lives in near the memorial. It's definitely very disheartening to hear that someone would try to burn down a memorial for a woman who was killed in our neighborhood. Vizians posted a video about the scene in an Instagram account. The Minneapolis police is investigating the incident. No arrests have been made. Yeah, I want a name. I want this person, whoever did this, to be caught and prosecuted for arson. Period. I mean, that's that. This is not a debate, right? And my guess is we probably already have some pretty good information about who it is in regards to probably doorbell cameras, neighborhood cameras. We should be able to track down who this person was. Some people have already speculated maybe it was an ICE agent who came up there, just doesn't like the fact that Minneapolis basically showed them up. I don't know. I will say I get tired of hearing the both sides argument when consistently 90 to 95% of the time when stuff like this happens, it is a right-wing psychopath who's doing it. And I talked about the right being furious about this stuff. They just, I can't tell you how sad it is to see the Republican Party in Minnesota, who once again welcomed in ICE to basically do all that they did. There have been multiple Republicans who have vocally said they wanted this to be a good start. They wanted far more aggression from the Trump administration. They wanted far more blood on the streets. They wanted far more. They wanted people locked in their houses, terrified to come on out. Because why? Because we're a democratic city and they don't like that. That's all this is. It's impotent, small, tiny, impotent men mostly, who basically, it's infuriating that I want to be the most popular person in class and I'm not. So to get their way, they unleash a militarized force on the rest of the high school or try to burn it down. Because that's the only way they can change reality to fit their narrative. I'm stunned at the amount of damage the Republican Party of Minnesota has done to the state. They have, we talked earlier this week, they have absolutely decimated the ag sector in outstate Minnesota. The construction industry is in shambles in this state. There's a story out today, and I'll get to this a little bit later on, about the restaurant industry in the Twin Cities is desperately needing people to go out and have some food. And this was kind of by design. They wanted to, if they could not take this city over by military power, they wanted to economically break it. And they've already said, we are not going to consider during this legislative session any kind of bill that would offer assistance to these businesses that have been hurt, under the argument of the only thing that bad that happened was that one day of strike. And so if they had bad problems, that was on them and we're not going to help them. Meanwhile, they're already saying, but the people of the Twin Cities need to send a bunch of money out to my county because our businesses are hurting. Screw you. Screw you. They don't like the fact that their bullying is not won. As a matter of fact, like I said, U2 now has a song that basically calls out you guys as horrible people. Yeah, U2. I brought this up briefly at the end of the show yesterday. I didn't want to bring this up again here because this is just, they will do anything in their power to try to change the narrative. At least 30 Republican state lawmakers, including Speaker Elisa Demuth, support a proposal that would criminalize residential protesting near a person's home in Minnesota. So basically saying you can't protest. This is kind of one of those things where I was talking last hour about the accountability, that the rules for Republicans are different than the rules for the Democrats. And the Republicans, when they want to do like a Stop the Steal rally, they want everyone carrying guns. They want to march down anyone's street. They want to go past the governor's residence and threaten him with the guns or scream the R word because, I got you. But when somebody's protesting against them, then they need to be out in the industrial area behind the buildings in a penned off area between the hours of 3 and 3:30 in the afternoon on a Sunday with a massive police presence. And then in that little box, they can have their freedom of speech as long as they don't get above a certain amount of decibels. And at that point, they'll get sprayed with pepper spray by the police if they get out of line. That is what they consider protesting. And what this is for me a bit of an issue, because earlier this year, people started saying, on the Democratic side, started questioning whether or not we should regulate protesting. And if people are breaking the law, you prosecute them. Of course you do. You go on out there. If someone is breaking the law, if someone's, going on to private property, if they're damaging a place, if they're threatening people, by all means, yes, that's not protesting. Those are crimes. You should prosecute them. But if people are sitting out on a public street, which the public has paid for, and peacefully protesting, although they might be loud, but they're still being peaceful, then I don't think you stop that, because this is quite literally the slippery slope. Because if you stop that, as the Republicans are now introducing, you could literally wipe out 75% of the state of Minnesota from being a place where you could have a protest. Because there's a residence down the street. I mean, you basically would negate the entire downtowns from having any protest, because there's a bunch of apartment buildings down there. Those are residential buildings. Their argument would be that this will be the stop. And the reason why they're doing this is because they got pantsed and then punched right in the old boxcar by the people of Minneapolis when they said, "the hell with you guys." And now they want revenge. They don't want this to happen again. So they're going to try to make those visions that you saw of the protesting that happened in the city of Minneapolis never happen again, because they look like the jackasses that the Republican Party of Minnesota really are. Jackasses. The bill, authored by Walter Hudson, would pave the way for misdemeanor charges against someone who participates in a demonstration outside of a private residence, with the exception being peaceful protesting in a place where a public meeting or assembly is being held, or a dwelling that doubles as a business. There's a lot of apartment complexes that don't have any businesses in them, so It comes after a period of months where protesters have basically, smacked back on Trump. Hudson has been a vocal about his support for ICE and his desire for Trump to invoke the Insurrection Act, which would have sent federal troops into the city to occupy that city and get those people in line because they vote Democrat. Quell the protest after Renee Good and Alex Preddy, and that everybody has to swear that they deserved it and that Donald Trump is the smartest, and girls like me. That's, I don't know if that was part of the deal, but I mean, it just, yeah. A lot of other Republicans jumped on this as well. They are desperately trying to change what this country is. And Minnesota is the template. The Minnesota Republican Party are saying maybe we get rid of the First Amendment. They clearly do not want the Second Amendment anymore. Notice how they want to avoid talking about that one at all. They want to get rid of fair elections. They're trying to get rid of any dissenting voice. I can be honest with you, I kind of wonder how many days until all of a sudden we get FCC people or ICE agents storming the station, shutting the terrestrial broadcast down. How long do they do it in the other stations? Because you guys are unfair because you're talking about stuff we don't like. Unless you talk about all Republican stuff, then you're not fair and balanced. In a world where we desperately need brave people to step forward, where are they? U2 does a pretty good job, and Bruce Springsteen did an okay job. But we need more than freaking lip service. If we're going to save democracy itself, we need leadership. And we're not quite there yet. There are some people out there that are very promising, but we still have a long way to go. Because the Republicans have a massive upper hand with all the media and all the social media pages, and they can push their agenda with a compromised media saying, "Yes, sir. How many Democrats do you want to arrest today?" I'm not going to tolerate people burning down Renee Good's memorial, nor will I tolerate the idea of protesting only being something that Republicans will tolerate as long as you're protesting what they tell you to protest. Because that's not democracy. That's Nazis. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. We'll take a break. Come on back. It's the Matt McNeil Show here on the Wednesday.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. February is the month for love, so when was the last time you gave your carpet the love and attention it deserves? Maybe you've been procrastinating on the holiday post-mortem cleanup at your house. Are you worried if you got down on your hands and knees what you might see or smell? Not only is your carpet one of the biggest investments in your home, but it's also the largest air filter in your home. And what's worse, you're going to be stuck inside breathing this nasty stuff for months. And you're just in time for Zero Res's post-Valentine's Day flash sale. Get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for $109 plus a 4th room free. But you have to book by February 20th. Call my friends at Zero Res right now, 952-ZERO-RES, or go online to ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. A 4.9 rating on Google reviews and over 21,000 satisfied customers can't be wrong. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
At Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, our job is to help you find a place for fire. Our displays include over 180 models in diverse styles, and we have over 35 burning displays. Come and experience the glow and warmth of a live fire.
Some say there are only 2 seasons in Minnesota, road construction and winter. Hi, this is Laura, and I agree there are 2 seasons in Minnesota, summer and fireplace season. I bought my wood stove for Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces in 2005, and every season after summer comes the time when we fire up the wood stove, get out our favorite music, and discover the warmth of fire. Our dog Pumpkin remembers the fire too. He stations himself right there, legs up in the air, just enjoying the warmth of the fire. With the wood stove, we are able to keep the main area of the house toasty warm, while the thermostat is set at an energy-efficient 64 degrees. Discover your fireplace season. Visit Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces today.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, out of the ordinary products and services since 1977.
Hey, Chanhassen and Eden Prairie, it's Alex with Buzz Cut Mowing. Why wake up early, freeze, and shovel snow when I can handle it for you? I provide fast, reliable snow removal so your driveway and sidewalk stay clear, safe, and stress-free all winter long. Relax, enjoy your morning coffee, and let me do the heavy lifting. Visit buzzcutmowingmn.com today and make this winter easier, warmer, and worry-free with Buzz Cut Mowing, because nobody likes shoveling snow.
Hearts and beliefs collide in the poignant comedy, The Cake, playing at Theater in the Round. Della is a talented Southern baker whose life changes when she's asked to create a wedding cake for her late best friend's daughter, who's marrying a woman. The production offers a tender and funny look at the complex intersection of faith and family. The Cake runs February 20th through March 15th at Theater in the Round. Tickets and more information at theaterintheround.org.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. Of course, you can take the boy out of Minnesota, but you can't take the Minnesota boy. We're looking at, was it 1-0? The U.S. is leading Sweden right now. 2:23 left to play in the period. They can do it like here, right? They pull their goalie and give us an extra offensive player, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'll have to see. So that's the score right now is 1-0, United States and Sweden. And Larkin got the goal for us. We'll see if that holds up. This hockey tournament is good, man. This is a hockey tournament. This is really kind of the best hockey you see, period. I really think so. And it get players because there isn't nearly the fighting that you do see, which kind of can pollute it, I think, a little bit. It's just more pure skill. And God, these guys are good. These guys are really good. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Minnesota prosecutors are now demanding that federal officials share the evidence in the killing of Alex Preddy and the shooting of Julio Cesar Sosa Salas by federal immigration agents in Minneapolis. Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty announced she has issued a TOUHY demand, which she compared to subpoenas in state court during the news conference on Wednesday. The demands filed with Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison come on the heels of the FBI formally notifying the State Bureau of Criminal Apprehension that it would not share evidence into the Preddy killings with local investigators. Hiding evidence and obstructing our investigation is unacceptable and indicates a total lack of confidence in their agents' actions, Moriarty said. Moriarty said they gave the federal government until March 3rd to meet the demands for information, including the names of the federal agents involved, videos and photographs recorded by federal agents, statements by federal agents, medical records, and physical evidence, including firearms, cartridge casings, and uniforms. We are prepared to take further legal action since if the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Justice fail to meet our deadline, continue to obstruct our investigation. Moriarty's office has already issued a demand for evidence in the killing of Minneapolis resident Renee Good by an ICE officer, but has not received anything from federal officials despite giving them a deadline of yesterday. Emails from the Department of Justice and Homeland Security were not immediately returned. The BCA has historically investigated shootings into law enforcement officials, but been blocked from participating in the investigations by federal immigration agents killing Preddy and both U.S. citizens and shooting a Venezuelan national in the leg in 3 separate January incidences in Operation Metro Surge. The lack of cooperation from the feds hinders local prosecution in weighing whether criminal charges against the agents are warranted, leading Moriarty and Ellison to begin collecting evidence themselves with the BCA. So once again, the BCA, which has been a more conservative group, is working with Keith Ellison, the Attorney General, and Mary Moriarty, who's the Hennepin County Attorney, is an extremely liberal Hennepin County Attorney. They're all working together because this is beyond politics. They need to find the answers. Moriarty said on Wednesday the state has received over 1,000 submissions through the portals they set up to collect evidence from the public into the killings of Preddy and Good. There has been some really helpful information in there that I don't think we would have had but for those portals. We are grateful to the community not only for their resistance to what's been going on here, but their attempts to help us find accountability in these cases. Moriarty said they are in good shape to make decisions on whether to bring criminal charges against the federal agents. It does sound like they might be prepared to do so without any of the evidence. And in the case of Preddy specifically, they've got that murder from basically every angle. Once again, when you're dealing with federal agents, these cameras are your weapon. Your phone is your weapon. Film it. And just because of the video evidence we've got from the people that were surrounding Preddy when he was murdered in the street by Border Patrol agents, that basically we are looking at pretty much enough evidence they could bring charges with that alone, which will be very interesting because, like I said, if they try to bring in the evidence they've got to try to make the agents innocent, I don't know a court on the planet that's going to say, well, then if what's good for the goose, you need to give all the evidence over to them. So Trump can't pardon state charges or county charges for that matter. Trump can't pardon those. And maybe they'll ask the Supreme Court to step in and say that they can't have the case, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Supreme Court, even that Supreme Court, kind of said, with the evidence we already have, that that the evidence needs to be shared with both sides, but we're still not going to let you prosecute the crime. Right now, a lot of what's going on is the ICE agents, the Department of Homeland Security has pulled these agents aside, and they're telling them how to hide their money and their assets. Are you married? Put your house in your wife's name. Take all your money and liquidate all your retirement account and put it in this name, or put it in a fund over here. Hide your money. There are policing groups who take great pride in that. When the officer who murders somebody loses the inevitable civil case and has to pay millions in personal money to them, that they tie things up to where it's almost impossible to get any money from them. That is by design. These organizations, police departments and stuff like this, they actually have classes and people how to shield your assets to never actually have to pay for the crime. That we can't prosecute them because they were operating under official business, but then you can't get any money from them because they're really poor. I mean, even though they have a wealth of $500,000, I mean, that's all it is. Wife's account from the day after that he murdered that person. So you can't touch that. Homeland Security in an official release initially said Sosa Salas and another man violently assaulted the officer, Venezuelan Snow Shovel Attack Force, and Quidditch team. But now they're basically prosecuting those ICE agents. There's another case here, and I'll get to this here in a second here. As a matter of fact, maybe I'll take a break here. There is another case that hasn't been reported because there wasn't gunshots fired, but they might actually be trying to prosecute another series of ICE agents for another case, which we brought up, didn't involve a shooting, but clearly involved ICE agents abusing and beating somebody badly. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Let's take a break. Come on back. I'll get into that as well. It is the Matt McNeil Show.
There really is no place like home. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Home Health. When you're faced with an illness or an injury, being able to stay at home and receive care is important. Our home health offers a wide range of services, including skilled nursing, physical, occupational, and speech therapies, aides, homemakers, in-home respite care, and 24/7 live-in care. We'll work closely with your primary care provider to come up with an individualized plan for you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
Crooners is a classic supper club with a wide range of entertainment. Make your reservations for a parade of international, national, and local artists in the main stage showroom, the intimate Dunsmore Jazz Room, or outdoors at the seasonal Belvedere Under the Stars space. Or enjoy Maggie's Piano Lounge. Enjoy 4-star food and drinks with first-class supper club service. What are you waiting for? Go to croonersmn.com for more information and schedule. That's croonersmn.com.
Hey, Chanhassen and Eden Prairie, it's Alex with Buzz Cut Mowing. Why wake up early, freeze, and shovel snow when I can handle it for you? I provide fast, reliable snow removal so your driveway and sidewalk stay clear, safe, and stress-free all winter long. Relax, enjoy your morning coffee, and let me do the heavy lifting. Visit buzzcutmowingmn.com today and make this winter easier, warmer, and worry-free with Buzz Cut Mowing, because nobody likes shoveling snow.
At Schroman Law, we provide more than just legal documents. We walk alongside our clients to ensure their wishes and legacies are being honored with every choice. And we do this while recognizing that this process can be emotional and weighty. Our team includes attorneys, as well as a grief coach and a published writer ready to assist with legacy letters and extra wishes to go alongside your healthcare directive. Contact us today to learn more at schromanlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
Hearts and beliefs collide in the poignant comedy, The Cake, playing at Theater in the Round. Della is a talented Southern baker whose life changes when she's asked to create a wedding cake for her late best friend's daughter, who's marrying a woman. The production offers a tender and funny look at the complex intersection of faith and family. The Cake runs February 20th through March 15th at Theater in the Round. Tickets and more information at theaterintheround.org.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, snow with a low around 30, then Thursday, sunshine with a high of 38. There's something for everybody at Cafe Latte in St. Paul, from award-winning soup, salad, sandwiches, and desserts to treats from the bakery made fresh daily and a pizza and wine bar. Cafe Latte is located on the corner of Grand Avenue and Victoria Street. Check them out at cafelatte.com.
AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Minnesota and federal authorities are investigating the alleged beating. This is the other case which is getting a lot of attention here. The alleged beating of a Mexican citizen by immigration officers last month, seeking to identify which caused the 8 skull fractures that landed the man in the intensive care unit of Minneapolis Hospital. Investigators from the St. Paul Police Department and the FBI last week canvassed the shopping center parking lot where Alberto Castaneda Mondragon says immigration and customs enforcement agents wrestled him from a vehicle, threw him to the ground, and repeatedly stuck him in the head with a steel baton. Yikes. ICE blamed him for his own injuries, saying he attempted to flee while handcuffed and fell and hit his head against a concrete wall. But Oh, God. I mean, it's just talk. Of course they're lying. Of course they're lying. They beat him because he was a minority, and they're repressed, impotent jackasses. Hospital staff who treated the man told Associated Press such a fall could not have plausibly accounted for the man's brain hemorrhaging and fragmented memory. A CT scan showed the fractures in the front, back, and both sides of the skull. So, yeah, apparently he hit himself so hard front that he got up and then ran at the side and then ran backwards into the wall and then ran to the other. You see, he was crazed. Injuries, the doctor, when he said that they had the skull fractures all around the skull, he told the AP they are inconsistent with a fall. It was more consistent with a gang beating. Earlier this month, the AP published an interview with Mondragon, in which he said the arresting officer had been racist, started beating him right away after they arrested him. The lawyers have contended ICE racially profiled him. Yeah, they did. Of course they did. Yes. That's what these guys are doing. You don't advertise to the audience that they're advertising to if you do not want the guys who are on Friday and Saturday nights wearing a sheet, okay? That basically have a picture of Adolf Hitler up in their house. That's who you're getting. And Kristi Noem has told them basically, yeah, you can abuse the living daylights out of these people. And that actually seems like something that they've come to grips with in regards to ICE, just so they can get anybody to be an ICE agent right now. Yeah, sure. If you rough them up, you can rough them up a little bit. Well, racist going to racist, and they gave him skull fractures around his entire head. Oh, yeah, he ran into the wall. Unbelievable. This is also, and once again, I know that for the people listening on Blue Ant Media, this has been a little bit more of a Minnesota heavy hour, but I do want to convey that this is what they're trying to do here is what they're going to try to do in every Democratic city in the nation. They're going to go on out there and try to cause massive economic turmoil, which they have. And this has gotten pretty bad. I want to encourage everyone in the Twin Cities, try to get out to a restaurant. Try to get out to a restaurant, especially in a restaurant in the Twin Cities proper, in Minneapolis or in St. Paul. Go out, get some food. It's good restaurants. They're very tasty. But, because of the damage that's being done, the economic blockade by the Minnesota Republican Party, that it's causing some serious damage. From the pandemic and the arrest following the murder of George Floyd to relentless inflation and economic uncertainty, Minnesota's restaurant industry is already on the edge. Now, Operation Metro Surge might be the final straw. Amid intense immigration enforcement across the state this winter, many restaurant staffers, a lot of them immigrants, stopped coming to work, afraid of being targeted by federal agents. And diners, for a number of reasons, fear helplessness and bitter cold seem to be stopping to dining out. I also think economic problems is an issue too. Owners, from mom and pop shops to fine dining, they've all been left looking at the books and wondering how much longer they can stay open. If customers were waiting until things got better in Minnesota, I am telling you, with conviction, we will not be here in May. This is Gavin Kaysen, who owns a few restaurants. Kaysen said in an interview with Star Tribune, and we're not the only ones. He rang the alarm bell. Federal officials had not yet announced that immigration enforcement would scale back in Minnesota. But by then, the economic damage was already done. January 2026 was one of the worst months for Minnesota restaurants had ever seen. Many owners told the Star Tribune they described sales plummeting year over year, corporate and private dining cancellations, a coffee shop pulling in a total of $188 in a full day, a restaurant group with 8 Twin Cities restaurants losing $100,000 when closing for the January 23rd solidarity strike. Some owners are coordinating rides or food for workers afraid to leave home and borrowing money to make payroll only to come in and see an empty dining room. Sean Sherman, who sent his own letter to Congress. Now, if you don't know who Sean Sherman is, he is a brilliant chef behind a restaurant called Awami, which is Native American cuisine, and it's not easy getting a seat in that place. It's a very popular place. He wrote to lawmakers last month warning that ICE's impact on restaurants and destabilizing the entire food system. No industry built on human labor can function under terror, said Sherman. More than 1,000 restaurant industry people from across the state, across the country signed it. From farm labor to food distributors to cooks, he said, every link in the chain is fragile. We're already feeling it, Sherman told the paper. Restaurants are kind of like the canary in the coal mine. This is, and once again, this is not the only economic problems that we've had here. I've talked about how the farmers have had a heck of a time as well. And in one of the more interesting, things that I saw this was a press release from the DFL that the farmers are actually coming together with the Democrats and kind of expressing some real concerns here. Farmers from across southern Minnesota gathered Saturday in New Ulm with DFL party chair Richard Carlbaum, candidate for Congress Jake Johnson, and Assistant Majority Leader Senator Nick Frentz to deliver a blunt message. Donald Trump's tariffs are crushing farm profits, driving up consumer prices, and threatening the survival of family farms. A repeated theme was the lack of action by Minnesota's congressional Republicans, particularly Representative Brad Finstead, or as I call him, Opie, and Michelle Fischbach, the Seahag. There's Fat Casper, there is Stubby, there is Opie, and then there's Seahag. Those are the 4 Republican representatives in Minnesota. We'll do flashcards later, kids, okay? It's clear our consumers are paying 90% of these tariffs, said Senator Nick Frentz. In other words, we're just raising prices. That's exactly what's going on. Farmers pointed to fertilizer as high part of this crisis caused by the continuing tariffs. Much of our fertilizer comes from Canada, and those continued tariffs, once again, used to be free from Canada. Not anymore, thanks to Trump. We're getting slammed at planting season, said a Northfield farmer and state Senate candidate Mark Legvold. Then, to make things matters worse, they destroyed trade relations with our major buying partner. That hurts our harvest. Are we ever going to win Brad's vote? Talking about Opie. Unfortunately, he's just a rubber stamp right now, and he's always been that way. That's not what we need, said Randy, a longtime corn and soybean farmer. This would have been an opportunity for Finstead and Fischbach. They could have moved the needle. They know that's all that we know, that what we know, it's a lack of courage, fear. I don't know. On the export side, several farmers said the damage, it may be permanent. China is going to Brazil and building ports. They're not going to stop. That's another thing, too. I don't know if you're aware. China's actually building ports in Brazil to ship their product to their country. That doesn't sound like they're going to come on back. The pressure is falling hardest on the next generation of farmers. It's going to be really hard to have the next generation take the seriousness, investment, and put their life savings on the line when there's no strong policy, which is because Republicans. Democrats didn't do this, Republicans did. And then on top of that, the Minnesota Republican Party just welcomed ICE into town, and a lot of these places don't have their workers now. It's not just, it would be very easy to just talk about how the Minnesota Republican Party is trying to bankrupt Minneapolis, St. Paul, in the metro area as a punishment for us daring to vote Democrat. But it's the damage that they have done even in their own districts because they support racist policies over their own people, even their own bankrollers. Now, don't get me wrong. I have zero doubt the wealthiest ag processing facilities in this state, whether that's a farmer, dairy, meat processing, whatever the case, I guarantee you they've had conversations with Donald Trump and their operations are not getting raided. But these guys, they've got they're jonesing for any minority they can find. And they're going into the towns and they're pulling anyone out of a restaurant and they're pulling anyone there. They're getting people and it's scaring people. And they did this to themselves. And they don't seem to be paying attention. There was a get-together with the Chamber of Commerce. And the guy said, give me one word about what you can do to attract more people to Minnesota. Johnson, the Senate Minority Leader, said job growth. But Demuth, this is the woman who basically welcomed in the Utah Mama's Boy to do the racist anti-Somali video and then welcomed in Trump to start cracking skulls in Minneapolis. She said affordability overall. Affordability, you guys are the ones that made everything unaffordable. You are the ones that did that. You are the ones that did that. And as a matter of fact, I talk about the Chamber of Commerce, and this is like Chamber of Commerce is everywhere. They're these conservative bunch of people who are all pro-business at all expenses. They're now saying, most Minnesota business leaders lobbying on Tuesday acknowledge that the private sector is undergoing immense strain due to the federal immigration enforcement surge in recent weeks and proposed a slew of legislative changes to help. The Minnesota Chamber of Commerce, at its annual dinner to mark the start of the legislative session, said it will advocate for federal immigration reform, a fix the business lobby says would have helped prevent the intense federal immigration surge. The immigration crisis and unnecessary loss of life have once again brought to our state into the national and world spotlight, said the Chamber of Commerce president. Reform, simply put, is overdue, and a workable legal immigration system is desperately needed. Well, let me ask you this, you freaking clown cars. If this is what you wanted, why didn't you vote for Kamala Harris? Because Kamala Harris had a comprehensive reworking of the immigration system that would have let these people stay here and work. Instead, you, the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce, went out there and basically got into bed with the deranged psychopath with the sledgehammer saying, we're going to get all the brown people. And you did. You applauded that. You championed that. You went along with this. He campaigned on doing this. And you all said, sounds good to me. And now you guys are acting shocked. Shocked, I say? That your workers are being impacted by this? You're a bunch of freaking morons. Or racists. Or a little bit of both. You encouraged this by voting for it. You all of a sudden acting like you're nuanced and enlightened now. Shut the hell up, you fools. You're only in it for your pocketbook. And now that your pocketbook's getting hurt by the guy that you championed, you're trying to act like, oh, well, let me revisit this policy. No, if you wanted comprehensive immigration policy, you should have voted for Kamala Harris. End of story. You didn't. You voted for the deranged orange orangutan swinging the sledgehammer, and now you're suddenly stunned that everything's getting broken. Fools. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Is Brendan Carr here to shut me down yet? I still got one more segment today. It is the Matt McNeil Show here on your Wednesday.
Cafe Latte offers made-from-scratch soups, salads, sandwiches, and mouth-watering desserts. So come check out their pizza and wine bar, or get a treat from the bakery made fresh daily. Plus, you can still do online ordering and takeout, along with gift cards. Just go to cafelatte.com and choose from their ever-changing selection of award-winning salads, sandwiches, and soups. Cafe Latte is located off Victoria and Grand and online at cafelatte.com.
Lewis Black, live.
When I was in elementary school, then I was like 9. And the teacher said, in case of a nuclear attack, get under your desk. And I said, why would I do that? And she said, because you'll burn faster.
Don't miss this chance to see the legendary Lewis Black. It's like spotting a unicorn. Live in the Mystic Showroom Friday, May 1st. Get tickets this Friday at 10 a.m. at the Mystic Box Office or online at mysticlake.com.
Hey everyone, it's Ellie Krug, the host of The Legal Trenswoman that airs on Saturdays at 3 o'clock. As some of you know, when I'm not doing radio, I'm writing things. A decade ago, I published my first book, Getting to Ellen, a memoir about love, honesty, and gender change. More recently, my newest book, Being Ellen, A Second Chance at Life, was released. I'm thrilled about that. So much so that I partnered with one of AM 950's friends and advertisers, Big Hill Books in Minneapolis, for an author event where you can come and meet me and hopefully buy a book or two. The author event at Big Hill Books will take place on Sunday, March 1st from 2 to 3 in the afternoon. Big Hill Books is a lovely place with all things literary. Please come. I'd love to personally inscribe a book for you and to chat about what it means to live authentically, true to oneself. Again, Please join me on Sunday, March 1st at Big Hill Books, which is located at 405 Penn Avenue South in Minneapolis. I look forward to seeing you.
Uncover the rich history of Minnesota through Whoosh, a lively and deeply moving ghost tale. Solo artist Andrew Erskine Wheeler masterfully brings to life a range of characters, intertwining the rich history of St. Anthony Falls in the post-Civil War era with the story of its Irish heritage. This award-winning show weaves a hauntingly local and unforgettable ghost story through compelling song and storytelling. The History Theater's Whoosh plays January 29th through February 22nd. Find tickets at historytheater.com.
Oh, this is Robert Pilot. For Native relatives, healing is more than just sobriety. It's reclaiming Indigenous masculinity as a sacred, balanced force. Join Hunter Thundercloud for Native Roots Radio presents Controlled Fire. We explore how personal recovery uplifts our communities. It's time men step back into roles as mentors and spiritual leaders. Recovery is collective, and it starts with us. Tune in the first and third Wednesday of every month at 6 p.m. for Native Roots Radio presents Controlled Fire. Let's tend the fire together.
I'm a happy boy. Even though if I had hair left, I'd pull it out. The Sweden came back, tied up the United States right in the late in the third period, but the U.S. comes back and wins in overtime over Sweden 2-1. Is it Finland? Do we get Finland next? I think do we not know, or is it Slovakia?
Oh, I think it is Slovakia. Actually, now
Slovakia.
that you mention it.
All right, was Slovakia the third best team? Okay. So Canada, Slovakia, Finland, and the U.S. are the 4 teams remaining on the men's side. Quinn Hughes. Thank you, Quinn. One story here nationally, and I wanted to talk about this because I'd been to this town, Visalia, California. The Visalia Unified School District issued an update statement regarding a photo that has sparked nationwide backlash on social media. The image shows a group of about 10 Redwood High School students, they're seniors, wearing shirts with letters and numbers that spell out what the district is calling a hateful homophobic slur. It's not calling it, it is. It's a hateful homophobic slur. This is a town right outside of Sequoia National and Kings Canyon National Park. I've been over to those parks, and so I've been in these towns. Yeah, this is ugly. In a statement, Visalia Unified School District Superintendent Kirk Schrum said the district is continuing to investigate and take appropriate action in accordance with district board policy. I don't know how much you have to investigate. The photo is out. It's not really a mystery whether these guys did it. They did. This week, student leaders were being provided opportunities to engage in healthy and productive dialogue with their peers and staff about belonging and respect. As the district we will convene a roundtable with community leaders to support students in modeling civility and engaging in positive discourse. Together, we will meet this moment with steadfast resolve and restore the blah, 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 blah. The message to parents went out to say that Redwood High School administrators are meeting with students to address the hate speech, civility, and responsibility that comes with being a member of the school community. The district has not specified the punishment for the students involved, but says they could be facing serious punishment, including suspension. Wow, suspension for a hate crime. Okay. I mean, if you read through this, I mean, it's clear that the school district, and once again, this is a conservative part of the state of California, the school district is doing everything in their power to make it, well, we talked to those kids and they promised not to use the F word again. My guess is mom and dad might be wealthy people. If I can, fine. I mean, I highly doubt we're going to get some real justice here, as these kids probably should be expelled. I don't care. They're seniors. I don't care. What about their future? No, they don't. Their future got sacrificed when they got turned into hateful bigots. How about we say it like that? Used to be enjoy your life working, not going to college and trying to make good for it, because you don't deserve to have life successes when you're such an absolute douche. You don't. And let's blame the responsible parties. Their parents suck. Their parents suck. There wasn't like a class which taught them to be bigots. Mom and dad did this over the years. And we're so brazen about it, they thought that the kids could say, well, we can just go do this and no one's going to touch us. And now everyone's like, well, this is bad. But it's clear, once again, when you read the responses from the school district, I don't think there's going to be much in the way of punishment. Just horrible. There should be. There absolutely should be. Native Roots Radio is up next. Have a good one. We are back tomorrow. Till then, see ya.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. I've been telling you about my friends at Snap Control.